Thank you once again for joining us for the update from the City of New Hope, joined by the Mayor, Kathi Hemken. Once again, welcome, Mayor. How are you today?
Hi, Dave. Getting ready for the new year.
Wonderful. And we're going to do a special edition, as we had promoted, a little look back at the last year. And there's obviously great things happening in the city all of the time. So we thought it would be good to spend a few minutes to break it down by department that we talk about regularly in these updates and give you kind of a full year look back. So, Mayor, let's start with the police department. We've talked about a lot of community engagement and activities there. Take us through some of the wonderful things that department did over the past year.
I will. The City of New Hope has 93 full-time employees and a whole bunch of seasonals. So all the stuff that I'm talking about, they're either in one department or the other. And then the seasonals, we'll just talk about some of the stuff that they do. Mm-hmm. So in the police department, of course, we talk about Meals on Wheels. They've been delivering. 2 officers have been out delivering Meals on Wheels all year. So we're really excited about that. And the people that are getting the meals are real excited. They did something kind of new this year called Copsicles. So the cops put coolers in their cars and filled it with popsicles, went to the parks and gave the kids Copsicles at the parks in the summer. I thought that was pretty slick. So then the Community Police Academy, that happens with New Hope, Crystal, and Robbinsdale. The 3 police departments get together and they open this up to the public, and you can sign up for this academy. And it's either 6 or 8 weeks, I'm not sure which. And they go from city to city and learn about the police departments in that city. But it's a nice collaboration between the 3 cities. So then the big one in the summer, of course, is safety camp. Right. And this year we were really lucky that Xfinity Bank paid the fee for 75 kids to go to safety camp. So we had a full bunch of kids there. And this is a 3-day thing. And it goes on with our police and our fire department that put most of this together. And it's open to all the kids. And because it was free, it was really well attended. So then also in the summer, we have the bike rodeo. And that's with Robbinsdale, Crystal, New Hope, and Golden Valley. And those 4 cities get together and they put on a safety course for kids with their bikes, give away helmets, give away some bikes at the end of it. Again, very well attended and nice collaboration between all of the cities when they do that. Of course, the biggie in August is National Night Out. So we had a lot of parties this year. I typically get in the car with the police chief and we drive around to as many as we can. I think we did 12 actually. But there's the other council members go in other cars and they visit as many parties as they can. Lots of community involvement on that. So they had another bright idea, the community barbecues. So they go to apartment complexes with a grill, make some hamburgers and brats, and just invite the people in the apartment complex to come out and have a hamburger and talk with the cops. So the cops that are on duty stop by, and this is manned by some of the cops that aren't on duty that night. So there's lots of police officers around so that the people in the apartment buildings can get comfortable with police around them.
Right.
So come Halloween, right after City Days, they had that trunk and treat. There were about 200 kids. What they did is they parked all their police cars in the parking lot, and the kids just went up and down the aisles collecting their treats. So that was a really big hit. So here comes winter and the Santa Parade. Now that's a collaboration again with Crystal, New Hope, and Robbinsdale. And the fire trucks, police cars, that big MRAP, they just went to all the parks, just rode around in the streets with music playing and the sirens going and the lights flashing, and people came out and watched them and waved to them. And so it was just a Santa parade, if you will. They put Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus in a bubble so they wouldn't freeze to death like they almost did last year.
Good idea.
But it was just as much fun for the kids. And the final thing in the police department was Blue Santa. It used to be called Shop with a Cop, but our police officers felt that it wasn't appropriate to take these young kids into Target with the escort of a police officer picking out gifts. So instead, they got 25 families and the children, and they got a list from the families, and they went and bought presents for them, for all the members of the family. And they had this big party where the kids came in, the parents too. They had pizza and soda, and they got their presents to take home. And all of the gifts this year were donated by the community. So I think that's a huge thing. Part of them came from Mike and Allison's Toy Fest event. And a lot of them just came that people dropped them off at City Hall. And the little that they needed to buy, they did that with the Crime Prevention Fund. So the police department, besides keeping our city nice and safe,
Right.
they're doing all these community development events, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they are very involved, and hear that theme going on through the different departments that we talked about of being in touch with the community. Let's move over to Park and Rec now. We're going to talk about a couple of the key facilities of the city and then some work in the parks, and then they've had their share of special events too. Tell us a little bit about Park and Rec in 2022.
They have, they have. Well, of course, you can always go to the In Motion and see all of the things that are coming up, but it's really kind of fun to just talk about them as they come by. So the golf course was open for 7 months and 2 days this year. I
Okay.
kind of wished it was more, but it snowed early. They
Mhm.
got in 25,088 rounds, which is just amazing. The
Wow.
golf course was really, really busy. So at the ice arena, the high school games are there all the time, and the youth hockey, and they schedule all that added ice during the summer. They also did the dasher boards, replaced the glass in the North Rink, and then come winter, they did the skate with Santa. About
Mhm.
200 kids showed up for that and just had a wonderful time skating with Santa. So the playground equipment this year was at Hidden Valley Park. So they got that, if you remember right, they had a little problem getting the equipment. They couldn't
Mhm.
get it till September. So they did all the groundwork before that. And then when the equipment came in, they put that in as soon as they could. It got in before it snowed, thank goodness.
Mhm.
So Hidden Park was the one they did. Now, the Emerald Ash program, the city forester works in the Park and Rec department. So he went around with a can of orange paint and spray painted a big dot on all the trees that needed to come down. And of course, they've spent most of the year taking those trees down. It takes forever to get them down. He went into the parks, and when the city could take them down, they did. But when they were too big, they would have to hire it out. So
Okay.
lots of activity with that Emerald Ash Bowl.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
the special events that have gone on is the bike rodeo. Again, we talked about that. That's the four cities that get together. The Park and Rec department is very involved in that. The
Mhm.
vehicle fair. What happens there is all of the cities, the three cities, Crystal, New Hope, and Robbinsdale, bring their big vehicles there, as well as the CCX vehicle. And there's usually a few other things that are there. That
Right.
if it got wheels, it comes. So the kids have a good time with that. A
Mhm.
few years ago, they came up with this idea of Young Mudder, MUDDR. Well, basically, they have a pit and they fill it full of dirt and water, and the kids go through an obstacle course in the mud.
Right.
It's a huge hit for those 8 to 12-year-olds, mostly boys, guess. I
Mhm.
wonder about that. And then we hose them off and send them home.
There we
So
go.
that's been a real fun event for them. And then we do the Wet and Wild, and that we do with Crystal. And what they do is they bring out the fire trucks, they put plastic on that hill in Crystal, and the
Mhm.
kids basically slide down the hill. I did it one time. I will not have to ever do it again. It's it's not as comfortable as you would think.
Right, right.
Even though you have a little thing you're sitting on, it isn't very thick. And then, of course, they did the trick and trot. And that was that there's a trail that goes around Civic Center Park.
Mhm.
And so they had a bunch of tables set up all around that trail. The kids came in costume and they walked around the trail and picked up just toys and goodies and things. Some of the kids went around a couple times, but it was a nice, safe place
Yeah.
for the kids to do trick or treating. And of course, at the Performance Center, we've done free movies and free music. And then that theater performance we did this year,
Mhm.
Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. We'll do another performance next year. To put on the movies and the music, though, we have to have outside donations to do that. And so now we're in the process of asking businesses if they would either sponsor a whole event or part of an event. But
Okay.
usually we get enough money to show those movies and have that music in the park. And then the last thing is the aquatic park. So this is our second year. Again, it was a fabulous year. 49,341 guests went through there.
Wow.
Just amazing, amazing. 526 people signed up for lessons, and they hired 90 part-time staff to work that pool. So not only are they running the pool and having it there all the time, they're training and hiring staff too. So
Mhm.
busy, busy people.
Yeah, fantastic year for Park and Rec. You mentioned In Motion 2, got a copy of it right here. So a lot of information on a regular basis here to find out what great things are happening in Park and Rec in the city of New Hope. And it's for all ages too, right, Mayor? So not just the little kids, adults,
Oh,
seniors,
no.
everybody can find something in here.
Teens, there's some athletic stuff in there. The
Mhm.
skating information is in there. There's some parents and child activities. There's just adult activities, more stuff than you ever want to know.
That is very true. All right, let's move to another department as we recap 2022, some of the great things that happened in the city of New Hope. Let's head over to Public Works, some of the people that are always working behind the scenes and keeping everything running. Tell us about their year.
Well, we tend to forget about those guys. Those are the ones that they're mowing the grass, they're fixing the potholes, they're picking up the trash, they're fixing water main breaks, they're cleaning and washing out the hydrants. They do a lot of that day-to-day stuff. So they don't have a lot of splashy events like like some of the other ones do.
Right.
So we thank them a lot for what they do. But there are some things they did do. For city days, they're the ones that bring all their trucks from parking or from Public Works. They also had a street project north of Bass Lake Road and west of Boone. So they did that project. They remodeled the Public Works building.
Mhm.
If you think of your garage and all the stuff that's on your walls in the garage, and now you're going to paint the garage, so you have to take all that stuff away from there, clean it, paint it, put it back. So this is all done while they're trying to keep the city nice and clean and tidy.
Sure.
So
Mhm.
bless them for that. So this last year, they fixed 19 water main breaks. Water mains don't break when it's 75 and sunny in the summer. They
Right.
break when it's 10 below and icky and cold in the middle of the night.
Mhm.
So they're in these holes fixing these 19 water main breaks, bless their souls. And we have 30 snowplow events. That's where they get up at 2 in the morning and go plow that snow, and it's cold. Again, 75 and sunny, nothing happened.
Yeah,
So
no.
bless them for all the stuff that they do, and we don't even notice some of the times.
That's
But
right.
they are appreciated.
Great department in the city. And we're going to sprinkle in another one here that works with all of these departments, and that's communications. Just give us a little recap of all that has to go out from the city to keep residents informed.
We have a coordinator that does this. She's a one-man team, and she's really a dynamo at this. So she's the one that puts the messages on the reader boards. She does the website updates. She does an internal newsletter, and she monitors social media. So she gets an eye on what's happening out there and what's the general feel. She's the one that helps put out the In Touch. She helps put out the In Motion, and she's pretty much doing all the communications for the city. So even though she doesn't have any splashy events, she's very well needed in the city.
Yeah, she's the one that takes pictures of all the events and puts them places like this. So this is the In Touch that was, again, a combination effort. So she's getting pictures of trucks and everything happening in the city and at all of those special events. So thanks to Beth Kramer for that work.
I just have to mention, she's the one who had the idea of getting rid of the pipeline. And the pipeline was going just to residents who have water meters.
Right.
And she said, instead, let's just do the In Motion and send it to every address. So even though they don't get the pipeline, we all get the In Motion. I'm sorry, In Touch.
And the In Touch, right?
We get the In Touch so that everybody sees it 4 times a year and everybody sees what's going on in the city. It was just her idea to keep everyone involved and have open communication. So thank her for that.
Yeah, sounds like a great plan. All right, last department as we stop looking back at 2022 is community development. This group was very busy, so we've got lots of projects to talk about, but also some special programs that went in. Tell us a little bit about the past year.
Well, this isn't a very big department, but they're very innovative thinkers. So they started that curbside appeal program. That's where you could, if you're doing a project, you could get 25% reimbursed. Don't know for sure that we're going to do it next year. It sounds like we probably are, but it was fairly successful in 2022. And we saw some of the outcomes of that. A lot of really pretty updates on the part that faces the street. So pretty cool thing. So there's a Safe Routes to School program. We asked for $363,000 from the federal government that had to go through the Met Council, and then of course it comes through us. We were granted that grant, and so what they'll do around Meadow Lake School is they'll put in some flashers. That's a pretty busy intersection.
Right.
They'll put in some flashers. They're going to take away the turn lane. They'll have some bump outs so the kids are a little safer getting across that street, because there's a couple streets they have to get across that have a lot of traffic on it. So
Right.
we're really, and that just doesn't fall out of the sky, by the way. That's a lot of work to get all that together and to submit that and then answer all the questions that the government has to ask about the loan. So also in February, we did a fair housing policy to make sure that we weren't discriminating in any of our rental or for sale homes. So that policy went into effect in February. We're kind of proud of that. There's a company in New Hope called Patagus. Patagus used to be Paddock Industries, and they make, they're drug makers, if you will. And Patagus had wanted to get a large loan from the government, but of course, when you do that, it has to go through the city as a supporter. We don't have any skin in the game, if you will, any money in the game. It just goes through us so that we can keep an eye on what they're doing. They're thinking they're going to do a $50 million expansion on the building and add a whole bunch of new jobs to it. They're a really good company in our city, and we don't want to lose them. So one of the ones we've been talking about a lot is Windsor Ridge.
Right.
That's the 32 house development over in the northern part of the city. All the houses have been sold for an average price of $430,000. That development added $13.76 million to the value of our economy. So it's a huge, huge development for us. And it's all done. All the houses have sold, and most of them sold before they even got them built. So then, of course, we're still doing our scattered site housing project. We did 3 projects this year. One of them on 53rd and Rhode Island. That house is not completed yet. It's still in the doings. 3611 Louisiana. We just bought that. That's the one where we'll be doing some police work there before we tear it down and remove any of asbestos that's in there. So you'll see a new house put there. And the other one is the 2 houses that are going on the treehouse property. And so the 20th of January, we'll get the bids back for the builders to start building on that. So that's an exciting one. And the other one is our inspection department. Now, this is a small department. I'm going to have to look at this. 551 rental inspections, 548 point of sale inspections, and 1,122 code enforcement inspections. These guys are out there in their little white cars just buzzing around all over the place doing these inspections.
Right.
We need to do that because we need to keep our housing stock up. And to do that, they need to be inspected to make sure that everybody's complying with the ordinances and keeping their houses up. And so that's why these inspectors are out there all the time doing that.
Very nice.
Now, there's one person that isn't on the list, and that's our city clerk. She is just amazing. She's the one that kind of keeps everybody pointed in the right direction all the time, busy as can be. Well, this year we had elections. So she had to hire and train 74 people to work at the polls and then make sure that all of the results came in and get that all tabulated, and then check the equipment out, put the equipment away. She's amazing. So anyway, even though what she does isn't real splashy, she doesn't have a special event, she deserves a lot of credit for that. And the final thing is the council and I. We go to the schools, we go to the nursing homes. We either just go to talk to them, or sometimes we read to them. We're out as much as we can be out because we think that's also important to have that community engagement. So pretty much all of the whole team, all 93 of us, plus the council and I, are trying to be out there in the population and meet people, greet them, and just make sure everybody knows what everybody else is doing.
Well, congratulations to all of the city staff and the council and you, Mayor, for a great job in 2022. And I know there's a lot coming up in 2023. So stick with us for upcoming updates. We'll take a look into the next year and some of the things that are coming up and maybe still ongoing from this past year. And as always, the city's website, newhopemn.gov, great place to go if you want to find out what is coming up in the city, or also some information about maybe some of the programs that the mayor talked about today in the recap. Mayor, thanks once again for your time. Happy New Year to you, and we'll talk to you in 2023.
Thanks, Dave. Have a safe New Year.
You too. Learn more about the connection at ccxmedia.org and follow us on social media.